So welcome to session 6 in module 4. So in sessions 1 to 5, we understood what is software testing, the goals of software testing, what are the levels in which we can perform software testing. Also we understood what are the benefits of testing the software product at different stages. Okay. So starting from session 6, so we will take up the next part in module 4, that is software evolution. Okay. So we understood the difference between software testing and software evolution in the introductory session. Okay. So software testing is done when the product is being designed, when the product is being developed, or prior to the release of the product, or even it may be tested by a user. Okay. So software testing could be done at various levels, at various stages. Okay. Now what is software evolution? Okay. When exactly software evolution comes into picture? Okay. So we had a brief introduction of this in the previous session. So we understood software evolution starts when the product is given to the client or the customer, and the customer starts using it. Okay. So once the product is complete, so the company will hand over or deploy the software product at the client side. The client will start using it. Okay. So now this will be the starting timeline for the evolution of the software. So the point here is, so we understood the life cycle of software. Okay. It starts with requirement analysis. Okay. So next it is the design, coding, testing, and once done with this, the software product will be given to the client. Okay. So software product is released to the client. So client will start using it, and once this clients start using the software product, now it is a stage of evolution or continuous improvement. Okay. So in the last class we understood why evolution. Okay. A brief introduction was given. So we will try to fill more details into it. We will try to cover it in other different dimensions and aspects. Okay. So the very first point is software development does not stop when the software product is released to the client. Okay. Reasons for it we understood. Reason being, the requirements of the client may change continuously. New requirements may arise because of various reasons. The reasons include changes in the society, changes in the technology, changes in the policies of the government, okay, or changes in the internal policy of that specific organization or the client. So all these may result in emergence of new requirement, okay, and that new requirement should be part of the software that is being used. Okay. So now this will trigger software evolution. Okay. So when the client starts using the software product, that is, evolution has started because of new requirements. Okay. So that is one possibility. The other possibilities may include, so one is new or changes in the existing requirement. Okay. Now what are the other reasons? What are the other reasons that may trigger software evolution? Okay. So the other reasons can be like bugs or flaws in the system. A bug, a flaw, an error that was not noticed during software testing could pop up at this stage when the client starts using the software. Okay. Now if the bug or if the flaw is a major one and it needs to be addressed by maybe changing the design of the system, okay, not slight small modifications. We may need to go into the basic design of the software, and we may need to change the design of the software, meaning to say that changes are significant. Okay, in that case it is an evolution. Okay. Small changes, it happens. Okay. But if it is a major change, so it's evolution. Okay. So these can trigger changes in the society, as explained, changes in the society or technology. Okay, so changes in the law, regulations, or laws or policies. See, all these things can contribute to new requirement that will result in evolution of the software. Okay. Now the next question is, okay, now the software should evolve, it should improve. The question is, should the software company go with a completely new software product because of these changes that are being depicted here, or should these changes be incorporated into the existing system, existing software that is being used by the software company? So we will try to understand which one is more appropriate, more suited, okay, more feasible. So should the company go with a completely new software product, or should it do the required changes, upgradations to the existing software? So we are discussing why evolution, how, what is its impact. So all these things are being discussed. Okay. So we understood the various reasons which can trigger evolution. Okay. Now the topic of discussion is, should the company go with a completely new product, or should it make changes to the existing ones? So the answer is, so it is more appropriate to change, to do the modifications to the existing software. What are the reasons? So one of the reasons being the cost of the software. So we understood in the previous modules, cost of the software product, design, development, okay, is comparatively higher. Okay, so if this company wants a completely new product, obviously it will be a cost overhead on the company. Okay, so the best solution is retain the existing software, do the required changes, modifications on the existing software instead of going to a completely new product. Okay. The second reason being time. So the time that it will take for a new software to be developed, designed, developed, and delivered to the client, obviously. So we need to have a window period during which this design, development, and delivery should happen, meaning that the client should wait for the new software product. Okay. Instead, it is better to go with the old software with the required changes or upgradations. Okay, so that is one of the reason. Okay, and also the time period. Okay, time period for which a software will be used. For example, a software was given to a client. Okay, now for what duration the software will be used? Is it for 6 months, 1 year? So the answer to this question is, typically a software product, software application will be used for more than a decade, okay, spanning across maybe 5 to 10 years, and in some cases where the software is very complex, like the air traffic control system, so it can go up to 20 or 30 years. So this is the lifespan for which a software has been designed and built. Okay, so it is not feasible, it is not convincing to scrap a software product which has been designed for this specific lifetime and go with a completely new product. It is also not cost effective and time convincing. Okay, so that is the reason evolution prefers modifying, changing the existing software rather than going with a completely new software. Okay. Now the next question is, who is responsible for this software evolution? So in the previous discussion we understood why evolution, its importance, significance. Also we understood when there is a need for a evolution, there is a need for a change, why we prefer to continue with the old existing software instead of going to a completely new software. Okay, so we understood that. Next, we will try to understand who will be responsible for this. Okay, who will evolve the software product. Okay, so now it's obvious scenario. The client who is using the software does not have the technical expertise, okay, to do the required changes, to add new features or functions, okay, to debug the existing flaws. So it should be done by the company who has designed and developed this software. So the point here is the company who has designed and developed the software for the client will be responsible for the evolution of the product. Okay, so the terms related to this will be signed in the contract itself. So during the beginning stages, we had understood this in module 1. A contract, a legal contract will be signed between the client and the software company, and in that legal contract, the terms regarding evolution, okay, so it will be defined, and even the client will be charged for it. Okay, evolution, it is not like the software companies are doing this for free. Okay, and for your information, this is the part. Okay, so this is the phase in which majority of the software companies will benefit very much. Okay, because design and development can be maybe only for a few months or maybe a year, but evolution is spanning across decades. Okay, so the software companies can derive major benefits from the client during this period. So the answer to the question about who is responsible for evolving the software. So the answer to this question is, so it is the company, okay, company who has designed and developed the software. Now, is it the only answer? Is it the only alternative? Okay, or do we have some other alternatives? So other possibilities can be like maybe design and development was done by a specific company and a contract for evolution may be given to a different company. So this scenario also can happen because of various reasons. The reason may be the client is not convinced about the software company who designed and developed the product. There may be some conflicts, okay, clashes between the client and the software company. So this may result in the client choosing for an alternate company for evolving the software product. Okay. This does not usually happen, but still such a possibility can exist and does exist. So this was about software evolution and why evolution. So we have explored these two topics, what is software evolution and why evolution, okay, and also who is responsible for evolving the software. So now we will take up the next topic, evolution versus servicing. So we are experiencing a new terminology, servicing. Up to this point of time, we were only seeing the term evolution, but one more new terminology is being introduced here, that is servicing. Okay. So we'll try to understand the difference between evolution and servicing in this part. Okay. Software evolution versus servicing. So we'll try to understand this through a block diagram. Okay. So now initial software was given to the client. Okay. So a software was given to the client. Okay. So because of the new requirement or because of the reasons that were listed in the previous discussion, okay, so there may be a need for a change. Okay. So a change. So a software has entered into the evolution phase. So the original software that was given to the client, so now needs to improvise, needs to evolve, needs to change. Okay. So it has entered into the evolution stage. So this evolution is because of the proposed change. So we need to understand this. This is because of the proposed change. And one more add-on here is evolutions occur when the changes are significant. See, the proposed change is significant. Meaning that it's a major change. Okay, it's a major change. A completely new feature is being added. Changes to the design is being done, because of which obviously implementation details will also change. Okay, or some parts of the software is being modified. Okay, so the changes are significant. Okay, in that case it is evolution. So if you are changing the software product, okay, if you are improvising it, if you are modifying it, if you are upgrading it, and if that change, if that upgradation, if that modification is significant, okay, then we call it as evolution. Okay. And for what period, for what duration the software will evolve, we have already seen that. Okay, it may be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or even 30 years. Okay. Now the big question here is, because of the changes, now does the quality of the software improve or degrade? Okay. Does the structure of the software diminish, or will it become more perfect or improvised? Okay. So the answer to this question is, when the software evolves, okay, the structure degrades. The reason being, there is a change in the design. Okay, design is changing. See, please note, when the initial design changes, so the structure of the software starts degrading. Okay, so we had planned the initial design based on our understanding at that point of time, based on the requirement at that point of time. Okay, so we had established, we had created various modules, interfaces. Okay, we had decided upon the communication path, patterns. Everything was done based on our understanding of the software product during the starting stages, and also based on the requirements in the starting stages. But now it is changing on a regular basis, it is evolving. Okay, this will definitely have an impact on the structure of the software. The structure will be degraded. Okay, so continuous changes, continuous improvements, evolutions will have an impact on the design, and that results in the degradation of the software, and it will reach to a point where further changes cannot be accommodated. Okay, so maybe after 5 years, after 10 years, okay, maybe after 5 to 10 years, okay, after this specific timeline, you are trying to change a software. Okay, you are trying to make a significant change, and that is not accommodated. Okay, in that stage, so you will drop the idea of making major changes, and if any changes needs to be done, it is only a major change, minor change, and we call it as servicing. Okay, software servicing. So now we understood the difference between evolution and servicing. So in servicing, it is only small changes. So the difference between evolution and servicing is, evolution is because of a significant change, complex change, major change in the software, and because of these major changes over a period of time, the structure of the software is degraded, and you cannot go with further major changes. Okay, and at that point of time, your software has entered into the servicing stage, where only small minor changes will be incorporated so that we can continue using the software. And servicing carries one more signal here. The thing is, it is time for the software to retire, okay, or it is time for the software to be replaced, okay, with a new software. Okay, so that is a message in this phase, in servicing. Okay, So in servicing, you can continue using the software, but with only small changes, not major changes. Okay, we will use the software for a period, maybe some 6 months, 1 year, with small minor changes. Okay, and if no more further changes can be incorporated, and if the software is not serving the purpose of the client at that point of time, so definitely now it is the time for retiring this software, for replacing this software, and we call it as phase out. Okay, so the last one. So it is the phase out. Now what is happening during phase out? What happens during phase out? So we are replacing our existing software, which cannot be modified further, which cannot be updated further. The update may be a significant one, larger one, or the change or modification could be a smaller one. So we cannot do it because of various reasons. Or even if we are doing it, it is not serving the purpose of the client. So now it's time we remove the software and replace it with a completely new software, so which we call as the phase out. Okay. So we understood the difference between evolution versus servicing. Okay. So also we understood the time lapse or the timeline of evolution, okay, till the point where the software will be replaced with a completely new software, so which we call as phase out. So we completed with this part of the topic, that is evolution versus servicing. So now we will take up the next topic, that is evolution process, and we will try to understand different aspects of the evolution process in detail. Okay. So now software evolution process. So we are going through this term process from the very first module. So process is something that has a starting point, a set or a sequence of steps, and an end point. Okay, so that is a process. So now evolution is also a process, meaning that there is a starting point, a series of changes or steps, and there is an end point. Okay, so what is that already we have seen? We will try to increase the detailing of it. We will try to add more knowledge, more information about it, okay, in this discussion. So now evolution process or the software evolution process can be of two types. One is informal. So informal evolution, where the changes will be indicated, okay, in an informal way. Now the first question is, who is indicating the changes? So it is a client. How they are indicating or informing the changes to the software company? So it is in an informal way. Okay, maybe it is through a casual conversation. Okay, so maybe a client is informing the software company, okay, please do these changes. Okay, through a conversation. They do not follow any formal process or formal set of steps in planning the change and informing it to the company. It is informal through a conversation, so that is informal. Okay. Next, it may be a formalized process. So in formalized process, the client will inform about the change, okay, through using structured documents and templates. Okay, so it is not like a casual discussion with the software company. So a standard procedure protocol will be used, a template will be used, a standard document will be used, through which the client will inform the software company about the needed changes that should be done as part of software evolution or servicing. Okay, so there are two ways into it. Okay, there are two ways of informing the required changes by the client to the company. Okay, so So we'll try to understand the evolution process. And evolution is not a one-time activity. It is iterative. It keeps on happening. Okay, because evolution itself is spanning across a very larger time span. Okay, just now we saw in the previous discussion. Okay, so evolution can happen, or it can span across decades. So meaning that it is iterative. It repeats. How it repeats? Okay. So we have a new system. A new system was given to the client. So client took the delivery of a new software system. Obviously, as discussed in the previous instances, change is inevitable. Okay, client cannot keep on using the same old software, same software for years together. So changes will appear. It should happen, and that is the reason we are taking a transition here. Okay, so change identification. So as per the discussion we had in the last moment, there are many reasons because of which changes may happen. Okay, and those changes will be identified by the client with the help of the software company. It will be informed either through a formal process or informal process. So as per the discussion we had in the previous instance. Okay, so the identified changes will be put in the form of a proposal. Okay, so change proposal. So how this proposal will be, we will see in the next instance. Okay, so this identification of a change and the proposal for the change will result in software evolution. So this has resulted in software evolution process. Okay. Now this is one iteration. Okay. Starting from the delivery of the system to identifying the change, putting the change in the form of a proposal, and doing the required changes, which is evolution. Product has evolved. Okay. It is not like it only happens once. It is an iterative process, meaning that you need to look back. So it's a continuous cycle that happens for a period spanning across decades, as discussed already. Okay. So to summarize, software evolution is part of the process where when the software is being used by the client, new requirements may emerge. Okay. New ideas may emerge, because of which changes to the existing software is inevitable, that needs to be done, and that is what we call as software evolution. We also understood software evolution is an iterative process. Okay, it is not a one-time work. Okay, it's iterative. It keeps on happening repeatedly for a very long duration. Okay, so that is a message from this part of the discussion. So now we will try to visualize the software evolution process using graphical illustration. The reason being, instead of going through points of theory, a graphical flow can help us visualize the evolution process with more clarity, okay, with better understanding, resulting in better remembrance. Okay, so we will explore the software evolution process through graphical illustrations. Okay. So now it all starts with the request for a change. So that will be the very first stage. Okay. So the change request. Now who has generated this request? So obviously It is from the client side because of the various reasons that were discussed. So a request for a change will be given by the client to the software company who is responsible for evolving the software product. Okay. Now immediately when a change request is received, the software company will not, it will not do the changes immediately because it needs to analyze the impact of the change, okay, in terms of cost, in terms of the existing design, okay. So its impact should be analyzed before deciding on going with the change. So the next stage is impact analysis. So impact analysis, where whatever change the client has requested, okay, if those changes are incorporated into the existing software, what will be its impact? Okay, maybe on the other features, other functions, usage of the software, okay, in the environment where the software is being used. So all the consequences that can happen, so analysis of that will be done, okay, because we incorporate the change and it is affecting maybe on a different part of the software in an undesirable way. It should not happen. Okay. Next, once the analysis has been done, now we try to plan the type of change, what exact change needs to be done, and because of what reasons. Okay, so that is done during release planning. What exactly is release planning? We'll try to understand. Now client has suggested a change, okay, that change may be because of what? So one of the reasons being faults, okay, fault repair. So as already explained, a major flaw in the system triggers the need for changing the existing software, okay, changing a part of the existing software, changing a feature, function, okay. So faults in the existing system may trigger the changes, and what are the faults, how these faults should be addressed. So a planning of it will be done in release planning. So at this stage, okay, so we are graphically depicting the software evolution process, starting from the point where the change was requested to the point where the change will be incorporated and released to the client. So what are the different stages, what are the different steps, so that is being conducted as part of the process. So that is what we are trying to understand. Okay. So change may also be because of platform adaptation. So platform adaptation, what is platform adaptation? I'll give you a small example. Okay. Now assume that a specific banking software was installed, okay, on Windows 8. Okay. So the banking systems and servers were using Windows 8 operating system, and the banking software was built for Windows 8, or in other words, the banking software was running on Windows 8 operating system. Now the bank has decided to upgrade the software to maybe Windows 10. Okay, so now the operating system environment has changed. The bank may have decided to incorporate new servers. Bank may have decided to incorporate new centers, new types of network, new networking devices. Okay, so that obviously will trigger changes to the existing software, banking software that is being used in that specific bank. Okay, so changes to the platform, it may be a hardware, it may be a software, it may be operating system, okay, it may be a dependent software. So any changes should have reflections on the existing software. Okay, so what is that will be planned during release planning. Okay, changes may even happen in the system environment. So as already mentioned, a software system is not working independently. Okay, so it will be dealing with other software components. It will be interacting with other software systems. Okay, it will be interacting with stakeholders. So if any changes in the outside environment, okay, so obviously we may need to accommodate certain changes within the system, within our existing software. Okay, so changes may be because of these reasons, and if we are doing the required changes and we are okay with the changes after impact analysis, so how to do those changes? Like a planning of it will be done in release planning. Okay, so once we are completed release planning, so we will go into change implementation, meaning that we are doing the required changes. Okay, so the required changes are being reflected in the software. Okay, meaning that maybe if a new feature was needed, it is being added. If an existing flaw or bug should be addressed, so it is being addressed, maybe at the design and coding level. Okay, so and this can also happen iteratively. Okay, while implementing, we may need to revisit the release planning. Okay, so we may need to reconsider our planning that we had done during release planning. Okay, so it is an iterative process, meaning that we need to loop back from change to release. Okay, so and once done with doing the required changes in change implementation, so now the software will be released to the client, so which we call as the system release. Okay, so we term it as system release. So this is a point where the new software product, I mean not exactly the new software product, the software product, the existing software product with modifications, with changes were given back to the client for deployment and usage. So this is a process of software evolution where a change that was suggested, that was requested by the client is being incorporated into the system, and it is being released back to the client. Okay. So we understood there are a few steps. Okay, it's not a one-shot process. There are few steps or stages in between. Okay, so what are those stages? What are those steps? We understood, and we also understood change will not be done immediately. A client is giving a change. A client is indicating a change. It does not happen instantly. So analysis of that will be done. What will be the impact of this change on the existing software? Okay. Will it impact any other modules, any other subsystems? Okay. And in what way? All these things will be analyzed, and only if it is convincing, if it is acceptable, if it does not cause any degradation of other parts of the software, so then we will come out with release planning. So release planning has a blueprint of what type of change and how it should be done. The same will be reflected in change implementation, and once done with it, the existing software with the required changes will be released back to the client. Okay. So this was a software evolution process. So now we have one significant stage which has been compressed, okay, as one small step. What is it? Change implementation. Okay, so change implementation has few more steps which we will be elaborating or detailing in the next illustration. Okay, so this was software evolution process. We understood the different steps or stages. In that, one of the major step or stages change implementation. Now we will try to visualize what are the different steps or stages within change implementation. Okay, So change implementation has few smaller stages within itself. What is that? We'll try to explore. So now we will take up change implementation. So we understood what is the evolution process, that is to be more specific, software evolution process. So now we will take up this change implementation. Okay. So change implementation was a step in software evolution process, but it is having some stages, okay, some set of steps. What is that? We are trying to explore it. Okay. So the proposed change after doing the analysis and planning has been taken into consideration. Just now we saw in the previous instance, in release planning, how this changes should be done, where the changes should be done. So all those things will be planned in a meticulous way, in a detailed way. Okay, and we have a change proposal. We need to implement it. Okay, so how it is done, we are exploring it. Okay, so we know what is the change and how it should be done. Okay, so now we will gather the requirements for it. So for doing this change, we need few requirements. Okay, what are those requirements? So that will be identified as requirement analysis. So we understood this is the very first stage in software engineering, collecting the requirements from the client. Okay, so we are following the same philosophy here. We need to do a change. And for that change, what is the requirement? We try to understand. Okay, we try to understand that. Okay. So we consolidate those requirements. Okay. And once we are done with this, we go with the development. Okay. So the point here is there are a few steps or stages within change implementation. What is that we are trying to understand through this graphical illustration? So we understood whatever change needs to be done, so that it is there in the form of a proposal. For this change, what are the requirements? So we will try to understand that, we will try to analyze it, we will try to document it, and once done with this, we incorporate that change. For the required change, we come out with the required design, coding, and that is development here, the software development. And finally, we come out with the release of the software. Okay. So change implementation, which was a specific stage in software evolution process, so is having few smaller stages. So that was explored in this instance. So now in the previous two instances, we saw evolution process. Okay, it does not happen in one shot. Okay, it's a process involving some series of steps, some stages. So obviously it goes without saying, okay, it is consuming some time. It needs some time. Okay, so there may be a scenario where repair or change or upgradation should be done immediately. There is a need for an emergency change implementation. Okay. Now, so can we go with the same philosophy that was discussed in the previous instance? If the change, okay, if the upgradation should be done immediately without consuming much of the time. Okay. Can we go with the previous ones? Can we go with the previous software evolution process? Stages and steps that was just now explored? So the answer to this question is no. The reason being, so as we saw, each and every stage demands some time. Okay, it may be collecting the changes, analyzing it. Okay, planning the required changes, okay, coming out with identifying the requirements for the change, coming out with a new design or modifying the design for that specific change, okay, coding for that change. So all these things demand sufficient amount of time, and if we do not have time, then we cannot go with the previous two process that we just now explored. Now what is the solution for this? If change needs to be done immediately, so how we go with it? Okay, so we have a modified software evolution process model, okay, so which we call as emergency change implementation. So we call it as emergency change implementation. Okay. Well, now what is the mechanism here? Okay. What exactly we do here? So now we have a change request from the client. So the starting step is the same. Okay. But the only change here is this change request is that of emergency in nature. Okay, it needs to be done immediately to the existing software. Okay, else it will have a consequence. Okay, for the company, for the client. Okay, so now if the change needs to be done immediately, so now what will be the change in the process? Okay, so we will bypass all the other stages. So what we will be doing is we will take this request and immediately we will go into the source code. Directly we will go into the source code. Okay. We will analyze the part of the source code that needs to be changed to reflect this new change or new requirement. Please note, we are bypassing all the other stages and directly we are going into the implementation, and in implementation also directly into the source code part. Okay. And after understanding which part of the source code needs to be modified, okay, for reflecting this change, just do it. Just modify the source code. So modify the source code. Okay. And release the software to the client. That's it. After modifying the source code, release, deliver the software to the client with the modification. So now you may ask a question, what is the reason for bypassing? The reason being, if we go with our default process, okay, involving all the stages, it will consume time and we may not be able to meet the emergency requirement of the client, that is client wanting immediate change to be reflected in the software because of various reasons. Okay. So now if it is an emergency change request, we directly analyze the part of the source code where the changes needs to be reflected. We do the required changes and immediately deliver the software to the client so that can use the software with the required changes. Okay. So this was emergency change implementation. So now, what are the reasons because of which emergency changes may be requested? What are the reasons? Are there any specific reasons? So yes, the reasons being, so now we are trying to understand why an emergency change request may arise. So one of the reasons may be serious faults in the software. So serious faults. Okay, serious faults in the software that needs to be repaired immediately, without which the required features or functions cannot be used by the client. Okay, so serious faults, it should be addressed immediately. Okay. See, if there was some minor flaws, the client can continue using the system or other parts of the system. But if it is a serious fault, so definitely using the software in the normal scenario will not be possible. Okay. The second possibility may be because of changes in the environment. So changes in the software environment. Okay. Because of which, once again, the client cannot use the software in a normal fashion. Okay. So in that case, immediate emergency changes should be done so that the client can continue using the software in the normal fashion. Okay. Third reason being unexpected changes, unexpected, unanticipated changes in the business scenario. Okay. New competitions, new legislations, new policies from the government, which should be immediately reflected in the existing software. Okay. Because if the government has changed a policy, okay, and if it is being expected to immediately reflect on the new policy in the software, it should be done. Okay. So these type of unexpected events can also trigger emergency changes in the existing software. These changes should be incorporated immediately so that the client can continue with the normal working of the software without any major disruptions. In that case, the change will be treated as an emergency change and it will be done immediately, bypassing all the default stages that we have in the software evolution process. Okay. So this was software evolution, where we understood once a product is given to the client, okay, it is not like the product will remain the same for a period of time, okay, or for a duration, or till the last date when and where the client is using the software. So change is constant, change should happen, change will happen. Okay. So we understood what are the various reasons that may result in evolution of the software. We understood that in the section why evolution. Okay. We also understood who is responsible for evolving the software. So we understood the difference between evolution and servicing. Okay. So we cannot make changes to the software, major changes to the software in an indefinite manner, because each and every time you change the software, the structure of the software is degrading. Okay. And you will reach a point where further changes cannot be accommodated, okay, or it is not advisable. So in that case, we enter into servicing, where the client will continue using the software, but not with major changes, but minor changes, which we call as software servicing. Okay. So that we understood in evolution versus servicing in this part of the topic. So evolution is a process, meaning that there is a starting point, okay, there is some set of steps, a sequence of steps, and there is a end point, and it will iterate. Okay. So we understood that in the software evolution process, one of the major stages in software evolution process is change implementation. So we understood what are the different stages within change implementation. Also, if the changes needs to be done immediately, so it's an emergency event. Okay. So now, what is the plan? Okay, how we manage with the evolution? Okay, so that we understood under emergency change implementation. Okay. So with this, we will conclude session 6. So in the next session, we will take up the program evolution dynamics, where we will try to understand few suggestions, few guidelines for software evolution proposed in the form of laws. Okay. So based on the experiences of developers who are involved into the software design evolution, so they have proposed few guidelines in the form of laws. Okay. So what is that? So we will take up in session 7 under program evolution dynamics. Okay. So thank you.